Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting. Envisioned Broadcasting, the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success. An affiliate of Direct Impact Broadcasting and Creative Broadcasting, presenting the EmPower Hour with Jaresha, a show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The EmPower Hour with Jaresha begins now.
Welcome to EmPower Hour with Jaresha. I am your host, Jaresha Moore. A little bit about myself. I am a best-selling author with over 18 years of combined experience in education, finance, healthcare, business management, and development, owner and founder of EmPower on Purpose, LLC, where we provide leadership training and personal professional coaching and consulting services. Certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, and owner of Envision Broadcasting radio station. So this evening, I want to share an upcoming event with you guys. It is actually a mastermind for leaders called Leading Through the Crisis. We all know that we are definitely living in a time and a day to where, no matter where you're at within the world, we are all experiencing crisis. And as a part of the John Maxwell team, EmPower on Purpose is offering a free 45-minute mastermind on leading through crisis based on John C. Maxwell's teaching this Sunday, March 29th at 3 p.m. In this teaching, leaders will learn practical ways to maneuver through times of difficulty and adversity. They'll learn effectively battle distractions during times of crisis and stress, and they will learn how to adopt successful thinking habits to think your way through crisis. To register, please email at Jaresha, which is Jaresha, at empoweronpurpose.com. So today's empowerment quote is, "It's fine to celebrate success, but it is more important to heed the lessons of failure," by Bill Gates. This is a really, really great quote. And you guys know I absolutely love quotes. Most people think failure is a bad thing, and we truly want to avoid it. We even fear the very prospect of failure, so hesitate when the opportunity arises to try new things. And let's just be real, failure just doesn't feel good at all. In fact, it feels terrible. For those that, and I'm sure so many listeners out there have failed, I have failed before, it is not a good feeling. When we fail, we feel as though there is no hope. But let me tell you something. That is your opportunity to learn and fail forward. There is another quote that says, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work," by Thomas A. Edison. So who truly likes to fail? Nobody, right? Nobody likes to fail. But if we're honest, we understand that failure is a part of life. There is no success without some amount of failure. The great inventors like Thomas Edison experienced a lot of failures on the way to successful inventions. Even the best baseball players strike out much more often than they hit a home run. Anyone pursuing a goal of value will make mistakes and wrong decisions. So the key is to expect failure, to prepare for it, to be ready to turn it into a lesson and a stepping stone to success. There is a such thing as successful failure. And I'll tell you, my mentor, John Maxwell, says this quite often. And I'm going to share with you some of the traits of that person. So 1, optimism. Find the benefit in every bad experience. Responsibility. Change your response to failure by accepting responsibility. 3, resilience. We need to say goodbye to yesterday. And then 4, initiative. Take action and face your fear. So I challenge each and every one of you today to expect failure, prepare for it, and be ready to turn it into a lesson to fail forward. So without further delay, today my special guest is Jessica Starks. A little bit about Jessica. Jessica Starks is the owner and founder of JD Scribes, a creative media agency, as well as the CEO of BOND, small business group, a promotional and development company for local businesses. In addition to her businesses, Jessica is also a professional writer and the author of the novella, The Lynching Calendar, as well as a recurring guest on the radio show, Right Thinking with Steve Copeland. Mud and Magnolias magazine named her as one of the 30 most influential women in Northeast Mississippi in 2017. And she was also nominated as the Best Boss and Woman of the Year in the Pontoc Progress Best of Pontoc 2018. I'm so excited to have Jessica as, a guest on my show today. Jessica, how are you? You're absolutely amazing. As I mentioned, I'm really, really excited to have you as a guest on the show today.
Thank you, and I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am, definitely good. I know before the show started, we had an opportunity just to kind of talk about how everything is really going, in the world and how we're, pretty much in our homes and, doing as best as we can to, work and, really stay busy and just, keep our mind focused amongst all the chaos and all of that. So I just shared some amazing parts of your bio and if you could just give a little bit more of, tell us a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about, yourself and what you do in your background.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm from a small town in Mississippi where, a lot of people may think that you can't really have a business or start a business or anything like that. But I've always been a creative, even as a child. And I kind of just allowed myself to dream enough and be bold enough to kind of go out there and make my dream come true. As you said previously, I do currently have 2 businesses under my LLC 17 Plus. I am in the process of expanding that. At this point, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, constantly coming up with an idea, constantly have a business venture that I'm trying to pursue. And like I said, I just really enjoy being creative. I enjoy helping others follow and pursue their dreams. And I'm just enjoying the ride right now.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you say you're a serial entrepreneur because I think that's how I describe myself too. And, when you, just like you said, you have an idea and it's like, oh my gosh, my mind is always, thinking like, oh, that can be a business. Like you can turn that, that's a business. So, and I know you get that. I know that we're pretty much, on the same page with that. So tell us a little bit more, about JD Scribes and, as well as, your, as I mentioned, you're the CEO of B.O.N.D. Bond. So tell us a little bit more about, both of those businesses.
So JD Scribes started back in 2016 for me. I started out kind of my whole career as a freelance writer. And I started doing work with a firm where they did a lot of work for celebrity clients. And, it just kind of got to the point for me where, some people were more concerned with, okay, how much money can we make versus how are we helping? And so after a lot of prayer and just kind of going back and forth with myself, I decided to venture out on my own. And that's kind of where JD Scribes came from. So I kind of, it's funny because I intended to just write. That was always something I thought I was going to do. Writing, that was my thing. Until I met my first clients, and they're the type of people who they just give you a chance. And that's why I love them so much. And thanks to them, that's how I expanded the services that we offer. Now we offer, like I said, we offer writing, but we offer web design, we offer graphic design, we offer social media management. We do kind of like basic video and advertising, things of that nature. And I do give them a lot of credit for just helping to give me that confidence. Say, yeah, you can do that. And there are other ways that you can still be a writer without kind of giving yourself that traditional writer's block, if that makes sense. And then that following year, I started my membership organization, Bond Small Business Group. And that came from a need for kind of a community of business owners in this area. Usually when you join kind of like a group or something like that, a lot of people that might just be focused on networking or just focused on, okay, what can you do for me? Or, what can I just get out of it? And the vision that I have for Bond was a little bit more than that. We wanted to, give them those opportunities to promote themselves and to advertise and different things like that. But we also wanted to incorporate that family aspect where, if somebody's having a rough day in their business, they can call one of the members and just kind of talk about it. If they need help, with their own business, Bond can partner with them and help show them, the ropes a little bit. And I'm thankful that we've been able to keep pushing since 2017. Our membership is constantly growing both in this area, throughout the state and out of state. And I'm just thankful that we've been able to create this big community of business owners who can support each other, especially in times like these when we really need each other.
Absolutely. I think that is amazing because I'll tell you that, when I initially started my coaching business, I was looking for someone that either had, was in the coaching field. And so I ended up reaching out to like a local SCORE chapter through, I think I even came across them through the Small Business Association. And so I met with the person and they were like, we don't have anyone that is in the coaching field, and so the resources were very limited for me. So, I think that is amazing because, as you mentioned, in times like this, it's good to know that you have a community of, fellow entrepreneurs, fellow business owners that you can turn to, that, you can reach out to find out information. And, I'll tell you that I really feel like, we had mentioned that, with being based out of Ohio, that it's still a huge need in, some of the states, some of the areas, because I can't tell you how many people that I've come in contact with that are still looking for resources, still looking for, well, how do you, I want to know how you created your business plan and all of that. And those are all things that, again, it's nice to be able to lean on, someone that's, already in the business that you have or that you're trying to be in. So, to say, okay, hey, how can you help me with these resources, or what kind of insight or advice can you offer for what I'm trying to do? So I definitely want to say that I think it's awesome that you do have, that company and that you're able to, really, kind of help those needs of the small businesses that are out there, because it's truly a huge, huge need, and especially, during this time. So, Jessica, you also, pretty much shared, and, I mentioned in your bio how, you are a professional writer as well as an author. Could you tell us a little bit more about your book that you wrote?
So the Lynching Calendar is a historical fiction novella that basically takes you into the lives of 5 different people and kind of leads up to kind of the circumstances behind these people being lynched. It kind of gives you the perspectives of every person involved. So in the book, you'll hear from the victim. You might hear from the person who accused them that led to them being lynched. You may hear from family members. You may even hear from innocent bystanders. And kind of the reason that I wanted to write it that way was because, typically when people research or they read about lynchings, they just get kind of a third-person point of view. And I wanted to be able to tell these stories where people can get a more well-rounded view and understand exactly what was going through everybody's heads, kind of the time that they were in, and just what was happening and why they felt the need to do that. This book, it's an older book. I published it in October of 2019, but I had written the book back in 2013 when I was a senior in high school. And initially, I didn't want to publish this as my first book, just because, lynchings are a taboo topic. It's not exactly something somebody would just bring up,
Right.
And so, again, I live in Mississippi. Sometimes you just don't know. And in this climate that we live in, I was honestly kind of nervous about it. But it was funny because I was praying about it because I had written 2 books at the same time. And so I was trying so hard to publish the other book, but it just wasn't working out the way that I wanted it to. And I was talking to my mom, and I was venting about it. And she's like, well, have you ever just thought maybe it's not time? Maybe you need to try the other one. And I was like, okay. And so I decided, I said, well, let me just try it and see what happened. And it just went by so smoothly. And God was just kind of telling me, this is the time that this needed to be released. There was a reason that you held on for so long. And I was able to publish the book in October of 2019 in honor of my cousin LQ Ivy, who was actually lynched. It was about a county away here in Mississippi at the age of 17, and my first story is kind of loosely inspired by what happened to him. But all the stories overall are fictional, but I do hope that people are able to kind of, really pay attention and see that, these stories weren't always black and white. They don't always follow the formula that everybody thinks they do. It's just to kind of bring more awareness and show how horrific these crimes were and, hopefully fuel us to keep pushing forward so we don't have to keep seeing stories like these because they still are happening. So I hope, in a way I did my part to kind of help, give other people a voice and say, hey, that happened to my relative or that happened to somebody I know. And just to educate people so we don't repeat our history.
Absolutely. And I have to say, isn't that the truth? Because so often we don't realize that, how in sharing information, sharing stories, just putting, as you mentioned, putting your book out there, truly could be an eye-opener for someone to, for them to see that, this is something that's still very much happening today, in 2020. And, it may even give someone the courage to speak up about, whether a relative or, to actually bring their voice, and shine light on, a situation. So I definitely think it's awesome. And I am a firm believer that, God, pushes us to do things, for a reason. And, just so happened that was definitely your time to bring out that book, So that's amazing. I definitely want to be able to, check out that book as well, to share it with others, because I definitely think it's something, as you mentioned, if anything, just to really educate, people that this is something that is still happening. So yeah, absolutely. So you also have been named, and the Mud in Magnolias magazine named you as one of the 30 most influential women in the Northeast Mississippi in 2017. Tell us a little bit more about that experience.
So Mud and Magnolias is a local kind of magazine. They cover a lot of topics, maybe just pertaining like Southern life or women's issues, different things like that. And they just, started this thing where they wanted to highlight influential women. And I saw it online, and in my head, I shared it because I'm thinking about one of my members. I'm thinking about, other people in my network who may have ideas for good people or, just trying to help promote a local event. And so when I got the email that I had been nominated, I was like, oh, I was kind of shocked because I just don't think about myself initially when it comes to things like that. And, especially in 2017, being one of the younger entrepreneurs in this area, I just didn't think people thought of me in that light. So it was a really big honor. And I took my parents to the event, and we had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I think that's awesome. I definitely think, even at a young age, so, the millennials that's out there listening, When you think of being influential, truly, that could be, any age, whether, you're millennial, whether you're, even young, 12, 13, you have influence. And I think that often we just don't realize how much influence we have on, other people, especially with you being a young, entrepreneur. There's someone that's watching and, truly amazed. Because you are amazing, and so I definitely think that it's such an honor, and that you did receive, that recognition. So yeah, absolutely an honor. And then you also were nominated as the best boss and woman of the year. Tell us a little bit more about that. So I definitely want to congratulate you on all of the recognitions and the nominations. Tell us a little bit more about that experience and how that truly made you feel to be nominated.
First of all, thank you very much, because, again, this is another honor that I received that I wasn't expecting. It was another thing that I kind of was just like, hey, they're looking for nominations, pick somebody kind of thing. And one thing, I was surprised. And it was interesting because that year, in our town, because the name of my town is Pontotoc. It's a complicated name, but yeah, we're called Pontotoc. And a lot of minorities were being nominated, and so I was just super excited. And I was seeing some of my members on the ballot, and we were just really excited for them. And I'm sharing and telling people to vote for them. And then I think one of my sisters called me and was like, "Your name is on the ballot twice." I was like, "What?" And it was just really big. We were just all really excited and everything. So that was fun, too.
Yes. How awesome is that? You're like, what? What do you mean my name is on the ballot? That's amazing. That is. And, so it's Pontotoc, because I think I, totally, struggled with that. So, and I'll tell you that, so I have family that is from the Alabama and I want to say parts of Mississippi. I've never heard of Pontotoc, but I definitely love the name. And now that I definitely know how to say it, Pontotoc, so yes, love the name.
Most people, they haven't really heard of us because we're so small. But we're a lot of times I'll tell people we're close to Memphis or we're right by Tupelo, because a lot of people think about Elvis's birthplace, or we're not far from Oxford, and a lot of people think about Ole Miss. So, yeah, we're just kind of in between.
Absolutely. I love it. So let's talk a little bit more about JD Scribes and some of the blogs that, you've written. Can you kind of share a little bit more about, some of the blogs that you've, written and, and shared on JD Scribes?
So a lot of the blogs that we kind of write are kind of general about helping be a better business owner or have a better strategy as far as your marketing for your business. Being in this area, a lot of my customers, we work with them as far as low-cost marketing. So we work with them on different things that they can do that, still works with their budget. And so a lot of our blogs consist of that. We even do kind of vlogs sometimes if people need step-by-step directions, because that's another thing that we learn about our customers. Some people, they can read it and catch on. Some people, they might need audio or visual. So we try to kind of mix it up with a number of things. And then the other companies that we work with, they're from a lot of different industries, so it can range anywhere from a news site to insurance to fashion to anything of the sort. We try to really work with people and make sure that we're speaking the language that they want their brand to speak. And we try to specialize in helping whatever we write, whether it's their blogs or their website copy or whatever, we try to make sure we're doing our part to further their brand.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think it's so important, for those that are listening to be able to, really work on building, growing their brand. And, I think that's awesome, just hearing some of the services that, that you do offer. So if you could tell us, what is one long-term goal that you have for your business?
One goal that I have, honestly, right now, is to be able to bring in more creative people into the business and to kind of, not only just be somebody who can help other people kind of launch their careers, but, if they want to kind of jump out and do their own thing, or if they just still want to learn and kind of work and do, I just want to kind of help be the catalyst for that. So that's my overall goal. Absolutely.
And what would you say has been the biggest challenge that you've faced so far?
So far in the business, it's been my age. Because freelancing, I started when I was 17, and then I'm 25, so I've spent pretty much my whole early 20s, building these businesses. And so, and then too, with my business name, if I go for a meeting, a lot of people assume I'm a man or I'm somebody older or something like that, which I kind of like, because I kind of like the mystery, behind it. But some people just kind of try to discredit me just because I'm younger, or I've even had people try to discredit me because I'm a woman. So those have been some of my biggest challenges, but now I'm kind of seeing, and I think people are starting to understand more of what I do, and they're starting to, kind of respect, my work a little bit more. But in the beginning, that was definitely the challenge for me.
Absolutely. And I love how you say that, when you show up to meet with clients and they're saying that you are young and a younger and a woman, and, it's just that element of surprise, which I think is amazing because, at the end of the day, I think that goes kind of back to how, often, before even connecting with people, we have this, perception of how, like you said, based off of your business name, it's automatically, assumed that you may be something that, you're not, just like you may be a male, just based off of the business name. So I think it's awesome because, when you show up as a woman, like, okay, this is what, this is me, this is my business, and they see it, it's, I just think I think that's awesome. I love that. So what would you say on the flip side of, having that biggest challenge? What has been the biggest accomplishment for you up to this point?
The biggest accomplishment for me, I think one of the things, I kind of have two that kind of go hand in hand for me. One would be when I had, a number of customers and things like that, and when people were asking for referrals and things like that, and I could see them actively saying, oh, you need to call her, that was a huge thing for me, because that, showed me that I really am helping people and I'm making a difference in somebody's business. So that was a big deal for me, and that was a huge accomplishment in my mind. And then I would say maybe my second thing would be I got awarded one of the top 50 Black women in business in Mississippi this January. And again, I'm sure you're not surprised, that was another shot. But it's, just to be, because some of these ladies I've seen and, I've kind of looked up to them and how they've built their businesses, and just to be able to be mentioned beside them, that was a really big deal. And that was a really huge honor, and it just kind of, again, like I'm doing something that's, impactful here. And when I announced it, just seeing all the people that were so happy for me and was like, oh, I've been watching you since you started. And it's like I didn't know these people were watching me. So, those are my big two.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. I think that is, that's so exciting. And, you definitely deserve deserve it. I just hope that you're celebrating. I know you said it was a surprise, but, hopefully once, you're like, once you get over that element of surprise, you're like, okay, yes, let's celebrate this and let me celebrate me, because I think that's amazing. And there's so many other people, as you mentioned, that are watching you, even younger, looking at what you're doing and all the accomplishments that you've made, and how hard you're working, to build your business, to build your brand, and, they're watching and they're learning. So, I absolutely commend you and congratulate you on that wonderful success. So what is the one thing that you wish you would have known, before you, or when you started your business, I should say?
One thing that I wish I would have known is that the writing industry can be rough, because when I started, I was just thinking, I'm going to write and I'm going to love it and I'm going to do whatever I want, just write, to my heart's content. But there are a lot of people out here who look at writers and they think we're robots. So they think we can just constantly churn out material, and that's just not how it works. Some people, they may be able to, but I personally, I cannot. I can push out a lot of stuff, but sometimes I need to reset. And I pushed myself too hard. And so I think a lot of that was just me. I wanted to get my start, and I wanted to show people that I could do it. And you can't always be a people pleaser in, like the writing and the marketing industry. You just can't. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. And I definitely think that's really good to share with the listeners, because often, when we do start businesses, and I don't want to say that we think that it's going to be a lot easier, but I definitely think you learn along the way how hard it is. So,
right.
And writing, I will say that I love writing. I don't know that I would call myself a writer, but I definitely love writing. But, so I can definitely imagine how, much of a challenge it was, knowing that, like you said, you can't really be a people pleaser in the writing or marketing industry. And just knowing, though, that, when you can look back at, when you first started and what you've learned up to this point, and really can share with those other, those future writers, future, business owners that are looking to get into marketing and all of that. I think that right there just, really speaks volumes for, your mission as far as helping others. And it's, really, really, really exciting. So today I shared the empowerment quote, which was, "It's fine to celebrate success, but it is more important to heed the lessons of failure," by Bill Gates. Could you share with the listeners what this truly means to you?
To me, that quote, it means that, it's great when, times are good and everything is on the up and up. It's great to really be excited and, blow your own horn and things like that. But your biggest lessons and sometimes your biggest victories do come out of those times where it just seemed like a complete and utter failure or a disaster. Because I know a lot of times, when there were days when, maybe a writing gig fell through or something just didn't work out, and I thought things just, I'm like, okay, my writing career is over, but something was always on the other side. And that experience that I had with the previous job, I could always build on. So, never take your failures and just kind of act like you forgot them or like they never happened. Use that as fuel to keep going.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what is one piece of advice you would give our listeners on how they can empower their own growth and success journey?
I would say to not forget where you came from or where you started. Because it's easy, especially once you reach a certain level or you hit a benchmark that you've been trying to hit, you kind of can forget, I struggled to get here, or it took me a really long time to get here. But, just as easily as you got there, you can fall back down. So never forget where you came from, and you, again, use that as your fuel to keep going and challenge yourself to be the best that you can be.
Absolutely. That's really, really great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners. So what is the best advice you have ever received? And if you can share with us who gave it to you.
Okay. So it's funny. I kind of have two really solid ones again. The first one came from my dad, and I was kind of I was in band in high school, and I was practicing, and I just couldn't get this note. I couldn't get the note, and I was just so frustrated. And my dad was like, just stop, walk away from it, take a break for about 10 minutes and come back, and I bet you'll hit it. And that's basically what happened. And I kind of applied that same principle to my business and just kind of things in life. Because even in your business, there's going to be days that nothing goes right. And you're kind of like, maybe I shouldn't have been in business at all. But if you do take that time to kind of step back and just breathe for a minute, and then you come back, you will be fresher in the end, and everything will go smoothly, and you'll kind of just forget that you even had a horrible day. And then my second piece came from my mom, and it was I had a customer, and I was trying to work with her, but it just kind of seemed like every time we got to the stage she had to sign a contract, she ghosted me. And it was frustrating, We had been through it at least twice, and I'm like, okay, now this is getting old, And my mom was just like, you need them, but you don't. She's like, yeah, it's good to have clients and have customers and things like that, but sometimes that might be God's way of protecting you. That person might have been a huge headache and you just dodged the bullet. Or it might have been something you found out was too much for you and you wound up not even having to do it. So those are my two big things that came from my parents.
I love it, because I'll tell you that some of the best advice that I've received has come definitely from my parents as well. And I absolutely love it. I love the fact that your dad said, sometimes you just have to take that moment. And that is so true in business. And, when you think about even this in your everyday life, sometimes we have to take a moment because, we get so consumed by, so many different things, especially when it comes down to work. And then you get frustrated because maybe things are not, planning out how you want them to. And it just taking that minute, walk away and then come back, have that time to just take a breath for a moment and, just pull yourself away from it for a second. And so that's really great advice. And then also, the advice that your mom gave, I definitely think that, God definitely has a way of showing up in business, in life. And we, really just have to sometimes just listen and understand that, sometimes there are signs that come and we need to take heed to what's right in front of us. And, as she mentioned it, potentially it could have, caused you to avoid, whatever kind of situation, right? Really a problematic, client. So I definitely think that's amazing advice. So if you could take the time now to share with the listeners, what's coming up on the horizon for you, any big plans that you have for for the near future for your business, if you can share with the listeners.
So JD Scribes is kind of, we're expanding some of our services. We're building more into bigger branding packages. Maybe it's, if you're a first-time entrepreneur and you're just kind of trying to figure things out, we try to have a program where we kind of take you step by step and help you build your brand. We're working on building courses. We initially planned for courses that were in person, but obviously that didn't work out. So we're working virtually right now. And for bonds, we're trying to build more partnerships so we can help our business owners be, known to a wider audience. We have even more events coming up that are fun ways to not only involve our community, but to help these businesses be exposed to potential customers and just have something positive going on. We're getting ready to release merch for Bonds. And then as far as my book, still just trying to sell and go around and speak, but I'm also working on my second book that I hope will be out soon. So I got a lot of moving pieces.
Absolutely. A lot of excitement happening for you. Absolutely. That's exciting stuff. So, Jessica, I just, really want to take the time to say thank you so much for sharing, your amazing journey, your story. Please take the time now to share with the listeners on how they can stay connected with you and support your efforts.
Well, thank you so much for having me. My business, JD Scribes, we're on Facebook and Instagram at JD Scribes. My website is www.jdscribes.com. You can also purchase my book there at jdscribes.com, or it's available online everywhere books are sold. So Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Goodreads, anywhere you want it to be, you'll find it. And then as far as Bond, we're also on Facebook and Instagram at Bond Pontotoc. We do, like I said, even though we're based here in Pontotoc in Mississippi, we are always looking for people across the country who want to bond with other business owners and help just have a better business. And our website to learn more about us with Bond is www.bondsmallbusinessgroup.com. To keep up with me and my book journey, you can catch me on Facebook at Jessica Starks.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I thank you so much. It's been truly an honor and pleasure to have you as a guest on the show. Again, I thank you so much. And I truly want to wish you, much success and blessings as you continue on your journey.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. So, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's show with our special guest, Jessica Starks. Jessica Starks shared her amazing story and journey to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, starting your own radio show or low-cost advertising, highlighting your book, business, or events, please email envisionD@EmPowerOnPurpose.com. Please tune in next week where you will hear an amazing story and journey from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the EmPower Hour with Jaresha, where Jaresha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journeys in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to be your best self. Follow Jaresha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jaresha Moore, and visit EmPowerOnPurpose.com. And remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.